I'm not really drawing the line between art and craft. And then about 10 years ago, I came across a box of aluminum test swatches, which what they do is they're probably about this size, and they spray their batch of paint on it. They put them out into exposure fields to see what the sun will do and the sea will do. And they had taken this exposure field down, and I ended up with this whole box of colors, which after working with like rusted brown steel for 10 years was really exciting. And about what to do with them. And so gradually over the years I started to figure out how to try to make things with it. And fairly early, I had this idea to do this piece, and it was, I wanted to work with my sister, who was not an artist at the time, and another friend of mine who was an artist, and I wanted to do a piece that we could get our family to contribute to. And so the three of us, my sister, myself, and Sophie, this friend, we kind of came up with the main idea and the figures. My sister did the sort of drawing of me, and then we blew that up, and Sophie did the other picture of me, and it was this sort of like struggling with the struggles that a lot of us have with just different sides of our personality, getting along with yourself. And then the idea was that there was this tree of support, or this web of support, that would be filled in by our family. And so I just passed out all these little bits to my mom, my dad, my nieces, and my brothers and sisters, and they did these drawings. Basically what we do is we write on it with a grease pencil, and then carve into it to make it, carve the drawing to make it permanent. And so this piece was done, and I showed it, and it had really little response. And I was doing other stuff that people were used to, I guess. And, but it kind of just kept bugging me, and I really liked the process. I liked the idea of everybody has something to offer. You know, I really like music, and I always hate when people say, you know, don't do your real job or your day job. You know, people should sing, people should draw, people should express themselves, whether it's their profession or, you know, just something to do, like kids do, right? And so that kind of led into doing these pieces that are very open to the community, working with school kids and working with other artists and that sort of thing. So this was done in 2004, and it's sort of the precursor to the process that the Aluminum Quilting Society uses.
This was made with your family?
Yeah, and friends.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. That idea of finding a strong kind of graphic structure and then letting people run with it is it's a strong idea. And so you can see that in the other pieces, like, so you have this strong idea of a horse and the riders on the horse and kind of all of society is on the horse. And then you can hand out the pieces and people can make all kinds of stuff, but you know that it's going to add into something.
It seems like it has some soul for me.
Yeah.
Because especially if it's community work, and it's like everybody has something to say and you get different perspectives. And I think for me, I've always been really interested in the making of things, and the content has always been the weak area. You know, people are like, well, what's it about? And that part's always been tricky for me to talk about. It was really about like recycling materials, making things that are beautiful, working with your hands. And the content was always a little trickier for me, so to share that, to put that responsibility out to everybody else to come up with was really great. You know, it was very easy for me. It was comfortable.
Yeah, although the horse is a content driver, right? And this one, the flower, it's in there.
Yeah, I think I always call it just a composition or whatever. Like,
it's more than cocaine.
Yeah, sure.
Perhaps. It's exciting. Yeah, it's interesting to be so this was made not with the same people that are on the Quilting Society. This was made out of your family.
Yeah, that was done before. Yeah. And I think that I started to work with, I did a project then, like 4 years after this, I did a project with the community in Brantford, which is my home, around the Grand River, and it was about the ownership of the Grand after what was happening in Caledonia and how that sort of split the community. I wanted wanted to sort of talk about the Grand River in a way that unified the community a bit more. So it wasn't very political. It wasn't really about, you know, whose right is it. It was more about going out and just asking a very simple question of what's important to you. You're somebody who's in this community. What's important to you? What makes, you know, what makes, I guess just that, what's important to you. And then by putting all those together in a canoe, so again, that was the form for everybody to add to. It was a canoe, which was so easy to just fill it up and put everybody on the river. I don't know, it was a very simple idea, but it kind of, I thought it was a simplistic way of dealing with a really complex issue. And that was with school kids and trying to do that. And that's been great. And then what I found is that it was hard for me to get people, sometimes people would get very invested, but it was hard for me as a teacher or as a facilitator in these kind of classes to really get stuff out of people. I have a great appreciation for people who work with kids to really get ideas. It felt like I was just kind of doing a surface thing, and I got a lot of Montreal Canadian signs as like what was important to kids, which is great, or SpongeBob's, but it felt like there was room to get more content. And so then since then, I was trying to open up to other artists to have a bit more of investment, and in all different ways, you know, whether it's a job for them or it's a creative output. And so that's what started the Quilting Society. And so like there's a few people here. Like, there was 4 core people for this show, which was Daniel Hill and Rowan Bateman and Gord, who was lost on the road today. So no, he'll be back. I hope so. Yeah, he got it. So and this was the series that we worked on for the last couple months, and it felt like it went from me being kind of so it felt like it went from me being the conductor to it being more of a true collective. And so you can see the green and the red piece are board pillars. He did the action, which he also did the main figure in the horse piece. And then, so he would do those, and then he would just hand them over to Rowan and Daniel and I, and we would try to figure out what to do with them. And then the suit of armor, which is based on that Troy Urchabe's halo suit, that was Rowan who came up with the design and college, so he put that together, and the Joseph Brand piece was from Daniel, and then those are kind of like the core things, but then everybody has little bits in each other's work. I think that was the one rule that we had, is that every piece has to have at least one other person. So it could be a piece that has 100 people involved, or it could be a piece that just has 2 people in whatever degree.
So that's an interesting shift to work from kind of Dave Hine making his work with sometimes assistants to being in a position where the invention is happening for different people. That's really exciting. I think it brings a dynamism to the whole thing. I think a lot about visual languages and how in our culture right now there's so much going on, and how do you there's so many ways to represent something, and so a lot of artists shift kind of language within their artwork themselves, but then pull in actually separate voices into that. I think is really great. So, have you felt that shift from being more kind of helper mode to being does this work feel different to you than work that you've done with Dave before?
Yeah, I think it's definitely opened up the kind of development that we work within, right? Because we're getting the opportunity not just to help along the side, but to kind of add to the pot. And every time you add something else, it seems like more grows out of that, and more ideas kind of keep coming. So I don't know, it just becomes this really fast-moving kind of environment where it's hard to know where it's going to go, and you surrender an idea over to kind of the rest of everyone else, and what you get back is something, maybe not what you completely even envisioned at first. or just again, then that opens up even more room to just continue with like, playing with the idea, I guess, and finding the content for the image. Because a lot of the times what we start out with is a really raw idea for just a basic image, right? Like Igor from the Hilarious Acts of Friday the 7th, for example. Then you take that kind of popular, maybe iconic image, and you kind of have this dialogue that happens in the studio. You get to talk about, just thoughts on maybe television, or, it could be like with the Dictator from Charlie Chaplin, for example. Like it just brings this whole idea of like the fun of this kind of clown personality that was Charlie Chaplin, and then the role of the Dictator. How do you kind of how do you mix those two worlds together? And then there's an open dialogue like that. It's just continually going, and it's continually growing. So it's like I guess it creates a really, really electric environment to create art in. So it's really nice.
That's a great description, thanks. Yeah, that energy of multiple people working together, and both the creativity and the surrender. You have to let your ego go because you have an idea and someone else is now running with it.
Yeah, it's